Hello, I hope all is progressing well. My name is Kevin Dufresne. Welcome to I Don't Know. We can talk about it, where we discuss a variety of topics because we can, especially in a safe space with mindfulness. We're going to begin with a few topics. The first topic concerns finding work in America without a degree. The reality is, having a degree can be beneficial, can be useful, can be appealing to one entity more or less than another entity when one is seeking employment. Obviously, if you don't already know, I'll speak for myself. I'm very aware, even when a degree, which is still valuable, is a necessity before the pandemic, before states are signing off on making jobs not have a degree as a requirement. The reality of being able to succeed in America without a degree, with a job that one can garner experience from, is always valuable. Transferable skills are always valuable. I think what's important for individuals to understand when it comes to degrees particularly is that one must find an avenue or so in a field in which the degree pertains to. The degree routes can lead to myriad directions. For example, I have my bachelor's degree in English creative writing, my master's degree in English editing and publishing. So, when people ask me what I can do with my degree, I don't even have to go into saying jobs specifically. I can refer to the basic transferable skill of communicating in myriad ways with the language, which adds an entirely different level of flexibility. Of course, having the particular niche area of focus can be very helpful, can be appealing as a headliner, though is even more special, important, accessible, and useful practically when I have the practicality experience behind the headliners. So I share with individuals, if one is able to communicate, read, write, speak in a language a company needs, an entity needs, a nation needs, where a nation has a large amount of work for an individual that does communicate in a particular language. If a person is able to communicate in one language where an entity has a need for that language, a person can find employment, can have work. Now, the article mentions earning potential with a degree. This is huge. Experience is always going to be valuable. Transferable skills will always be valuable. In the competitive market where individuals are seeking work consistently, willing to work jobs that might not be favorable, though are paying well, a degree will stand out. Imagine being in a space where individuals have the same experience, same personality, same applicant potential, though one has a degree and one doesn't. Depending on an entity, if the entity is me, I know what I value. If someone's going to apply, though if everything is the same, the degree is a fair way, aside from a test, live, on site, with actual work, to assess, depending on the approaches to efficiency an entity wants to take. The degree will stand out, though of course my hiring procedure will be in tune with what makes most sense for what I'll be hiring for. I cannot speak for any other entity, though I can say from a pool of applicants with the same, certain aspects of an application will stand out, and I think a degree will be one of them. With that, people have to want to work. If people are graduating from college, earning degrees, and are unable to find a job, or are able to find jobs with companies that are hiring, though the companies are not hiring those individuals with degrees, another conversation or so, which is already happening, needs to be more present concerning why aren't companies hiring. I've come across situations in which I put an application in, to my surprise, I'm not the one the individuals hired, though the person that does receive the job gets the job. I don't know why. I don't complain. I continue moving forward looking for jobs, though there are different levels of proactive individuals and, of course, proactive entities. So, with that, I think the fact that more jobs are becoming more available leaves a large opportunity for individuals to grasp, because I don't know how long the opportunity is going to last for someone to be able to look at another state that may be more affordable to say, wow, I can live here because I can work at this job. Whether that location is vastly different or similar to where one person might be leaving from, the reality of being able to access more opportunity is becoming more available to individuals that live in America without certain credentials, which can be very valuable for the growing population in America at large, though specifically, because I do feel as though moving, being nomadic, is very important as humans, especially in our economy nationally, globally. Locally, we're in a situation at large where individuals need flexibility because costs are varying so much per locations in America that people need more accessible ways of living. And I think having job openings that do not require certain credentials in states that may not be as popular as other states can be very beneficial for creating a new balance for Americans, for individuals that live in America. With that, we're going to move on to another topic concerning child labor laws. Child labor, what's illegal, what's beyond the scope of the law, what is under the table of the law. Of course, what's on the table of the law as well. We are looking at information that is being present, not that it's new, though that it's important for us to return to from time to time, especially if one is not in any group or person that is dealing with the situations daily. Because it might not be in a list of responsibilities one has to deal with. Having to understand that America has a lot of illegal situations happening in relation to children. So the article touches base on what is going on with child labor laws and how we as individuals living in a country, in a nation, are to be considering when we look at this information. This article is in connection with the New York Times coverage, which is important to note, so you can get more information. My perspective concerns the reality of jobs. I don't know every situation for every individual in the nation. I don't know why one person might choose to work at a factory and another person that needs to work at a factory because that's the only job available doesn't work at a factory. I remember trying to work at a factory when I graduated from college in 2017 because I'm looking for work and I'm like, I'll work anywhere in the nation. The factories I remember looking to work in are not able to find anyone that can actually work at the job because of situations with intoxicant abuse. So individuals are going to work that might not be the best on the job because of the situations these individuals put themselves in. And I'm like, I want to get into this job. If these folks aren't going to work, I'll work. I remember reaching out to someone that works at one of the factories and the person saying, look, you have experience, you have degrees. Let's see if we can fit you in somewhere else. Which is awesome. The correspondence doesn't go beyond that point after I send a response email with more information, relevant information. Though, the reality is that there are availabilities, and who is available to fill these availabilities is very important. There is an entirely different perspective also from individuals that might not be working in the States legally that might keep individuals in a very, very tough situation because of owing someone unnecessarily. I remember meeting an individual telling me about a license heist, if you will. So someone that is coming into the country can obtain a license for a fee, and an entire process that is costing way too much money though it's working effectively because the individuals that are paying the market don't know anything about the country they're entering. So it's really important to be mindful of what might be happening around one's self. And of course, like I say, with finding employment, paying attention to the employment landscape, I think we're going to be seeing a lot more changes, a lot more accessibility, and hopefully all of this is going to translate into a more sustainable nation of individuals capable of not only being able to live well successfully, they'll be able to save well successfully, to be able to invest well successfully within the nation and beyond, so we can stimulate not only the national economy, but the global economy in a way that can bring a bit more stabilization. Now, I'm going to touch on a point concerning sextortion because I like the article. I'm not going to go into a spiel, though I want to share the article link below to remind individuals of a tool available for youth. Any individual that might have an image online they do not want online. Of course, the article has some advice about how the tool can be beneficial, but at the same time how an image can still be online. So be safe, protect yourself, especially in the internet realm, and I hope you make use of the tool. The link is below. I'll make sure to say the name of the tool with a bit in parentheses about it. All right, now it's time for us to do some origami. We're going to take a nice little origami break. So the origami that I have for us today is an origami tissue box. Okay, so the origami tissue box is really nice, but we're gonna actually switch off from that because I'm seeing a few different origami styles here. We're gonna go through the picking process. So I'm going with, can I get some drum rolls and a cymbal, please? I'm making an origami star. All right. Okay. I have to start with my color side up. So if you have an even design, like yellow on yellow, cool. If you have a pattern, like I have, I'm gonna use the pattern on top. It's telling me to fold it from right to left, so I'm just gonna fold it across from corner to corner, of course. And the star seems like it might be a little simple to make. So then it says, fold the point back over to the right. I'm going to take this point. This is the point they're talking about, is the side point. Because you can probably look at this and say, there's 3 points. They're talking about the side point. So I'll take this side point here. Okay, I folded it. Oh, excuse me. They said fold the point back over. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to fold this point back over. So they want me to go edge to edge. So I'm still taking one of the sides. See that? So I open it here. Boom. Boom. It's right here. And then it's saying flip the paper over So I'm flipping the paper over to the other side from left to right, and it's asking me to fold up. So here I am. So I'm looking at this paper. This is how you're looking at it, and that's how I have to look at it this way. So I have to take it, and they're telling me to fold it up. So it says fold the bottom point up to the top point. Okay. So I'm folding it up to the top point. So I folded the bottom point up to the top point. This is what I did. I'm going to fold the bottom point up to the top point, and it says fold the bottom left flap down, squishing it. Okay. Squashing it into a new point. Oh. So then it's telling me now, and this is pretty cool actually how it's turning out. So what I do here is I just kind of, I bring it in. So after I make it even here, then it's telling me to bring this. It's kind of like bringing it edge to edge, like edge to edge. So it's like edge to center line, okay? Okay. So then I have, well, this one part of it, and as you can see, it's the star. So then it's telling me now I have to do this. I have to take the second sheet here. Oh, okay. Take the second sheet of the paper with this side up. So it's saying the pattern list side for me, is going to be up. And of course, the design side is on the other side. So it says take the second sheet of paper, white side up. Well, pattern list side up. And it says if using sticky note, have the sticky edge stuck to the table on the bottom left. I'm just gonna dismiss that note because I'm not using a sticky note. So I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna go bottom up, corner to corner. And remember the first one is, left to right or right to left, corner to corner, however you're making it. And so, boom, boom, boom. You see this right here? Good stuff. And now, afterward, I have to go to the next page. Almost there. It's ready. So it's saying now fold the right point over. So you can recall from the other one, I'm just gonna fold it. So we're making a double triangle here. It's like 1 point over and 1 point over. That's just like this. Okay. Then it's saying, rotate the triangle. You can fold the bottom point up to a tiny bit to make the star a more symmetrical shape. Okay. And then it says open the first star shape. So this is the first star shape. I want to say, did I do this right? The real questions. So opening the first star shape. Okay. And then it says just insert the triangle between the two flaps. Let's see how this turns out. Insert the triangle between the two flaps. So now I'm curious, like, did I do the first one right? Because of how this one turned out. What? So it looks right. And if I really look at it, it would have to be something like this. Meaning I would have to take this flap and put it there. So something in my fold of the first one is not accurate. I can still, mind you, I can make this star here, or I can kind of redesign it here to kind of make this hook. So you see this where they say bend it? You can make it like, hook it like right here. I can kind of, let's see, oh, no, that's not possible. So I can kind of just hook it here if I'm like, oh, I want to make this star and be done with it. I can just basically like take it like this and just kind of have a star. So it can be like a star on its own, but that bottom part will fall out. So let me see. Where in the first part do I need to look at again? The second part is good. The first part goes here. That's the fold that happens. fold the bottom up to the point fold. Okay, so I think what happens is when it says to fold the bottom up, let's just do the first one here. So I'm going to start from the step where I fold it back on it, and it says flip the paper over. It's facing me, but now this is where it says fold the bottom point up to the top point. So this I do, and I'm just curious as to why folding only the right section. So maybe it has to be like this. And there's a nice little split here. Though it's supposed to be a triangle at that point. So from here, it goes, whoop. So starting from the beginning to make life a little easier from here. This is here. The design pattern is in the front. The right point is over to the left point. Fold the point back over. So I'm going to fold the point back over to... And this is where it gets tricky because it says fold the point back over, and I fold it over to match the image. The image looks like this right here. Then I have to flip the paper over to the other side from left to right. And then it's saying fold the bottom point up to the top point, folding only the right section. Which looks like, maybe, is this upside down? So if this is facing me, and it's asking me to fold it up. Oh, so maybe I have to go like this, and then I have to fold it like this. Oh, but then it doesn't look right, because then it's supposed to be a star, and that doesn't look like the star now, does it? Or is it? And then it says like, then I can put it through here, and will I still get a star? And no, I just get two kind of like oddly shaped triangles. So I think what I do, it says fold the bottom. Okay, so this is gonna happen. I'm gonna take it like this. Okay, it's folded back, and it's open. It's folded back, and it's open facing me this way. It literally looks like this image, and I literally turn it over. I'm looking at it so I can have it like right here, and then I literally like fold it. It says fold the bottom point to the top point, folding only the right section. Oh, that's very, very interesting. So, you ready for this one? Wow, check this out. Only folding the right section. Meaning, this part comes up here. And my thing is, why isn't there a point? Oh no, that's it. Very strange. Only folding the right section. Then it says fold the bottom flap down. Oh, so here's where it happens. So this is supposed to turn out here. Then this bottom flap, so fold the bottom flap down, squashing it into a new point. So you see this? Boom, we squash this. See how it opens up here? This nice little 3D forming. Obviously it's 3D, but it's here. Come in here, and wow, we get a new point. Wow. So now we have this true to form. And of course, we can just come right into the star form in which the article mentions. Just take it, and then boom, and ta-da. And it's very similar, I think, to having, so I think it's very similar to having the piece on the outside, this as a hook, except you don't get the variance of both colors and both designs. So this is the star, and of course it's advising to secure with tape and glue, so you do need to have 2 origami squares, 2 even portions to do this. What an origami session. You're a star. Oh my goodness. You're a star. Alright, so next, we're going to talk about 3 films. I watched 3 films. 2 on Hulu, 1 in theaters. And, of course, I'm going to talk about the theater film first, then we're going to talk about the Hulu films. The first film I watched is John Wick, Chapter 4, in theaters. Whew. Is the film worth watching in theaters? Yes. Will I feel the same about the film if I watch it outside of theaters? Yes. I think the film has so much action in it. The story is somewhat comical. The acting partners fulfill the film well, though the film is flowing from knowing John Wick. If you don't know the story, obviously we're at Chapter 4, so going through Chapter 1, 2, and 3 makes sense. We're starting with John Wick at a point in the history of John Wick where we're dealing with him at, I think, more of a peak level than in the 3rd chapter. Though, we're dealing with him then. And the film is really full of action, yet somewhat comical, though for people that are fans of the Wick series. The film does not derail, though I think of all the Wick series, I mean, and when the dog passes, I think that actually has a lot of action. Though I really do feel like the character development and pull is really interesting, bringing in new characters, and I feel like the John Wick series has a few surprises to come. Though the entire film, to me, while I'm watching it, feels like a video game setup. Like, people are like, people are like, those people that are like, the people that are like, are the creators, which I'm thinking of mine. Probably not at all. Though I just remember watching it feeling as though, wow, this feels like a setup for an online multiplayer game. So people can join the game in, go into these huge fighting scenes, these battle scenes, possibly have super upgrades available. Every single part of the film makes me feel like it will be playable in the future. John Wick takes so many hits throughout the film. More hits than Tom Cruise and a Mission Impossible film. The entire film is so full of action. The whole point is to get to the end, though, through this action full landscape of entertainment. Yeah, that's John Wick for you. A lot of violence, a lot of gore. I do feel like there is a cool element to John Wick. And if a person is really into the series, a super appreciation for what the series brings. I feel like at this point, anyone that's going to watch John Wick knows what the film has to have in it. I mean, you have some cool fonts. The transitioning fonts are nice. And, well, the action is on point. The story itself is somewhat touching, somewhat poetic, especially toward the end. Though I have a lot of questions. Like, where's the rest of the table? What's going on with the management? Which makes it feel more like a video game. Okay, So the next two films I watched, we're going to start with the second one. Oh! So The Boston Strangler is basically about a Boston Strangler, an individual that was in Ann Arbor, actually, that's going around strangling like a serial killer. And it's gruesome to think about the fact that this is a story, this is a reality we're dealing with. The reality in the film that we're dealing with really comes in toward the end, where any individual that's suffering, quote unquote, I have to say quote unquote, from some type of personal angst that brings harm to someone else, hiding behind this figure as an excuse to do whatever that person wants to do is very, very sad. And I think that's where the film finds its strength, in bringing that reality to the table. It's not just about the crimes. We know people commit crimes, and the crimes are horrendous. It's the fact that there are so many methods, so many ways. And think of, if you will, 8,000 plus, 8 billion plus individuals having to deal with myriads of situations at any time, which is where the film has the audience looking at an apartment building like, oh, this is an apartment building. Well, what's really going on? A person just walks up down the hallway, says something. Of course, the date's mid-20th century, though still to be aware of, still to say, hey, look, we have to be careful and mindful of our surroundings, of ourselves personally, of course, because the situations that come up in the film are so strange. I don't want to spoil the film, but it's, as an individual, I mean, I have to say this in 2023, I guess. I always joke around with this. Though, as a cis man, I find the realities of safety so apparent. I find, as an individual that cares for society at large, the realities of safety so important. So even if it's like someone's going around taking all the roses and replacing them with tulips every year, and it's causing the person that loves roses a headache, and all the people that love roses are like, no, this person's in our garden now. We have tulips instead of roses. These are the problems that we have to figure out how to deal with. And someone else is like, well, you know what? I like tulips too. Or they're just saying, I don't like roses. So then they're going around their location like, I'm putting the tulips where the roses are, and I'll blame that person. It's a wild story. So I do find that film to be really intriguing because of the concepts. It's not the first of its kind, though it's definitely a film with a lot to think about, especially concerning relationships. And yeah, women are at the brunt of the attacks in this film, sadly. Not that anyone needs to be at any attack at all, in reality beyond the film, especially since it's just so terrible. We're gonna move on now. Rest in peace to people that experience harmful attacks, and peace to the survivors. I have to say this. I feel some way right now. as a human being, of course. I'm humane. So the third film I watched is Call Jane. Woo! Yes, the film can be somewhat political. I mean, we're talking about primarily abortions and this faction of women that unite. My goodness, Joy learns something that helps these women. Of course, that's a part of the film. I don't want to spoil it. And in that, her support helps provide a lot of abortions. I feel as though when a conversation of the sort comes to the table, of course, I have literally no say. Though we're in a film discussion right now, so I can say that the film does bring up how tough the conversation can be, even for someone that supports abortion. So this woman supports herself getting the abortion, then supports the movement of abortions, though finds herself in a tough situation between family, her personal life, and the cause, which is huge, because I do feel as though at times a cause, a movement, requires so much energy. And I think in this day and age, movements can be receiving care in more responsible ways, though the effort is still necessary to make the movements effective. And I feel as though legally movements have a lot more support as well. We're looking at a world in way more connection than then. I want to argue a world that is way more tolerable than then. And we're looking at these political landscapes of relationships, of abortion primarily. So I think the levels that we engage in of the conversation are important, though of course this pertains to women too. Like, what's going on with the women's body? How are women growing? How is a culture nurturing women to be in a society? Through what systems? Through what means? And of course we're looking at this in a pre-modern sense, because if we look at education, maturity, culturing in a modern sense, we're going to acknowledge all the parameters we're dealing with concerning education, which is just growing vastly beyond what a pre-modern sense might consider. We're looking at a very different world that requires a lot of caring people to tend. So much, respectfully, mindfully, in civil ways, which is where we find ourselves in the film, trying to just understand as the audience what we are to observe or try to understand. And I think that's a very good perspective, because a difference between the Boston Strangler, for example, and Call Jane concerns the professionalism of women's roles. So to find problems with women in roles that are earning, the dynamics of the relationships are actually quite interesting to respect in a way that's going to bring us to think more about, well, what's going on here because of what's going on in the film. So, with that, we're going to move on to our next topic. I actually enjoy all three films. And I like a film. I don't mind the context of the film if it's going to be true to the film. I think all the films do a good job of being true to the film. So now we're going to talk about reading. It Didn't Start With You by Mark Wallen. I hope I'm pronouncing Mark's name correctly. This film, this book, It Didn't Start With You, How Inherited Family Trauma Shapes Who We Are and How to End the Cycle, is a wonderful text. Like I always like to mention to individuals, even after doing self-work, one can always do more self-work. And I think this book is so good at touching base with generational development. Because generational development is more than just the development of generations before one, though what one can do to impact the generation, their lineage generations, beyond oneself and where one is. So this is not all trauma. This is more than just saying, oh, I'm healing trauma. This is for individuals that are beyond trauma, cool with healing, and are like, oh, well, what more can I do? How much more of an effect can I have? This is for those individuals as well. I say this because every action has so much impact. And when a person enters that reflective state of being, it's wonderful to be able to say, okay, wow, I'm making these good decisions. All of these good decisions have a good impact on the future. I'm literally culturing my lineage by my actions today. And I think it's also important to recognize that it didn't start with you, which is so important, because a lot of what someone might be going through, it didn't start with them. So if someone's dealing with always dipping their fingernails in pudding, and they're like, I don't know why I keep dipping my fingernails in pudding. I just keep doing it. Every time I see pudding, I just dip my fingernails in it. Guess what? That can be a connection to someone in one's familial line. Whether the parent, the father, mother, grandparent, it might be a cousin, an uncle, literally someone in the family might be dealing with, historically, pudding situations. And you come to find out, wow, on my father's side or my mother's side, someone is always dipping pudding into her gloves. So her energy is in the world and is very upset that no one seems to understand how that feels to have pudding in one's glove. So the closest to get to that is by putting one's hand in the pudding. Then the book helps one engage with healing the process and moving beyond that, making peace with that for an energy from a historical sense, from a historical space. Can you believe how impactful that can be? And it's also wonderful to have evidence from individuals that go through these experiences and actually heal. What's also cool is the fact that walking in the world, trying to build relationships is so important. I value so much information from texts I'm reading now, especially. We'll come to those likely, God willing. These aspects of generational development are so important in deciding, well, do I really want to engage with a particular person to a certain point? How do I want to engage with a particular person to a certain point? I mention this because there are some wonderful methods in dodging energy vampires by Dr. Christine Northrup, which is another text that helps engage how one is discerning relationships and what one is to do to protect one's energy. Then it's like generational development. Well, I'm protecting my energy now. How can I continue to protect my energy? Heal some disconnections, move on and establish better connections in a way that's going to strengthen my lineage, strengthen my familial line, generations down, possibly strengthen someone else's lineage, and it's wonderful to be exploring these contexts. And I find the information to be very valuable. I read each section per night in the beginning because I'm like, I'll just read a section and that'll be good. Then I just find the text so compelling that I read the rest very soon after getting a little bit more than halfway through. So the book is palpable for individuals looking for a way to read this type of information and implement the methods, reflect on the methods. I think this text is very valuable, and I think every person needs to read this text. I'm vocal about this. I have books that I recommend when people ask me, and this is officially one of them after reading. Thank you very much for joining me for, I don't know, we can talk about it. My name is Kevin Dufresne. Of course, we're going to have the bookmark raffle coming up at the beginning of the month. Realistically, it's like the beginning of the April month, end of March month, on our next episode. So I have a few individuals to put into the raffle. I reach out to the individuals personally. I do not announce them on the show. So people that do participate, obviously, it's apparent because those individuals will be in the highlights, and that means highlights of my Instagram story. I have an appreciation and gratitude highlight for individuals that do share. So, of course, guess what? You all can receive a wonderful benefit for encouraging others to read books and things, read physical books and things. And it's a great way to stay in touch. Remember, I don't know, we can talk about it, works in tandem with the forums of PHers, so please check out the forums. And that's that for today. Onward and upward, Kevin Dufresne.